Hello everybody, David Schuster here. If you are watching this, chances are you've been glued to social media and voter data websites hoping to get a clear sense of who our next president will be. And if you can't tune out or turn off the slew of developments, you're not alone. In the lead up to the elections, it's easy for all of us to fall into the habit of constantly refreshing, chasing the latest updates, and trying to spot trends. But here's the thing. While staying informed is important, obsessing over every piece of data can lead to a cycle of overthinking that does more harm than good. It can feel like you're running in circles hoping the next piece of information will give you some certainty or validation. In this modern era of technology, we've grown accustomed to having tools that help us predict outcomes. We can anticipate a storm, forecast changes in the stock market, or get an accurate weather report days in advance. This gives us a sense of control, the comfort of knowing what's coming next. We like to believe we've got things figured out, that we can plan and prepare, and that there won't be any surprises. Stability, after all, is reassuring. But when it comes to politics, particularly U.S. politics in recent years, the reality could not be further from that idea of predictability. Since 2016, the political landscape in the United States has been turned upside down. What once seemed like reliable indicators of outcomes, polls, demographics, trends, past voting patterns, have become increasingly erratic. Polls, instead of giving us a clear picture, are often all over the place. They swing wildly, sometimes painting a drastically different picture from week to week or even day to day. It can all feel like you're being pulled in every direction, as if the political scene is stuck in a never-ending flush, swirling without ever settling. This is why it's important to step back and acknowledge something crucial. We are in an era of political change, and the old methods of prediction do not hold the same weight they once did. We don't have a foolproof system to predict the outcome of elections anymore. That's why the polls and the data you see seem so unpredictable, and why demographics don't always follow the patterns they once did. Instead of chasing certainty in a time when it's elusive, it might be more helpful to embrace the unpredictability. This doesn't mean tuning out or becoming disenfranchised or disconnected. Far from it. But it does mean recognizing that the landscape is shifting. And with it, the tools we've relied on to predict outcomes have also shifted.
This election is close. Everyone knows that. But what might be most notable about 2024 are the structural shifts that we might be seeing in the electorate. Who generally votes for Democrats? Who generally votes for Republicans? It might all be changing. Here to explain what we are seeing, CNN senior data reporter Harry Enton. Look, we've been talking about black voters the last few days and some shifts there, but there are significant shifts that benefit Vice President Harris when it comes to women.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So, if you look at, is Harris doing better than Biden 2020? White men, she's not. Women of color, she's not. Men of color, she's not. But among white women, in fact, she is. In fact, it's to a historic degree. So let's take a look here. The GOP's margin among white women, look, Romney won him by 9, all right? Trump in 2016 won him by 6. You go back 4 years ago, Trump won him by 7. Look now, look how much lower Trump's margin is among white women. Look, he still leads, but it's well within the margin of error. It's just a point. He's doing 6 points worse than he did 4 years ago. In fact, he's doing the worst, if this holds, for a GOP candidate this century among white women, John.
So white women, once a favorable group for Donald Trump, are moving more towards Kamala Harris. Harris is also widening her lead over Trump with black and Latino women. The gender gap may be due to the Trump Supreme Court ruling rolling back reproductive rights. But whatever the reason for the Harris surge among women, the challenge that pollsters still have is predicting what percentage of the electorate will women comprise. If a larger than usual percentage of the electorate is women, that benefits Harris. A smaller than usual percentage helps Trump. The same question, though, of predicting the demographic, the gender, the ethnicity, and all the various splits among the electorate, well, that is challenging because within each demographic group, habits of communication, what percentage use regular phones or just cell phones, or what percentage respond to texts and survey emails, those habits can be slightly different. And if a pollster gets the model of the electorate wrong by including, say, too many or too few respondents in a particular gender, race, ethnicity, or religious group, well, it doesn't matter what the poll results are. That poll will not line up with the election day results. So yes, it's interesting and perhaps enlightening to know what the voting preferences are within a particular demographic. What are the top issues for women? What are the top issues for men, for urban, for rural voters? And all of that can help a political campaign deliver a targeted message that reaches and moves specific voters, and it can also enlighten the media in terms of what concerns may be in a particular demographic. But getting an accurate composition of the electorate in advance, well, that's the difference between a poll that is accurate and one that is way off. Now, One of the issues that has emerged as crucial considerations for many voters, on top of the economy and immigration and healthcare, is the issue of personal character and trust. Most voters tend to make a gut decision based on which candidate they like more. Well, recently, one of Donald Trump's longtime friends underscored some of these issues in explaining his decision about the 2024 race and why he was concerned about Trump's personal character, but also pretty happy with some of the basic election issues of the Democrats.
So, Geraldo, there it is. You are voting for Kamala Harris, and you lay out the reason why there, the Constitution, the fraud of the stolen election.
Generally speaking, the economy, the relationship with the world, the functioning of our own government, things went along pretty well under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and I have every expectation that she will continue his good work. Bidenomics, they don't use that term very much anymore, but the fact of the matter is that inflation has been almost stopped. There's been, the employment situation has improved. Things are pretty good under Biden. They'll be hopefully pretty good under Kamala Harris. On the other hand, I think Donald Trump really represents, I really do think that in Kamala Harris's words today, that he is unfit. I mean, the fact that he made liars out of millions and millions of people, I ask my Republican friends, and of course I'm still a Republican, I ask people, how in the world can you pretend to believe that the election was stolen when there's no evidence of that whatsoever?
Indeed, the 2020 election was not close. Joe Biden won by 7 million votes, and there was no evidence of fraud that would have changed the results. 80 courts rejected the Trump claims and lies, and yet Donald Trump has continued to insist the election was stolen from him, and he has repeated that lie nonstop, causing many of his low-information voters and some others to embrace the lies instead of living in reality. Kudos to Geraldo for calling out Donald Trump on the big lie and on the damage that Trump has done to our democracy. For any society to function, there has to be some trust in basic institutions. And the damage that Donald Trump has done to the credibility and believability of our institutions is incalculable. One of those crucial institutions is our election system. And we are fast approaching another challenge. Not because our voting systems are flawed, but because Donald Trump is flawed. A few moments ago, I mentioned the pre-election polls. Well, this year in 2024, there are several new polling organizations that are in the game. Some of them are tied to MAGA Trump businesses and organizations. Experts say their modeling and survey samples are not trustworthy and use methodologies that are not based on math and statistics. These same biased, unscientific polls, though, often show Donald Trump ahead nationally and leading in some battleground states. Go figure. And in the short term, while that may boost the morale of Trump voters and depress Harris voters, there's a larger, more dangerous issue here. When the election results, the real results come in, and if they don't match the pre-election polls, then what? If Donald Trump loses on election night, will he and his crowd claim, well, the election must have been stolen given the contrast with those pre-election polls? Or will they go along with what we're saying right now, that many of these pre-election polls are inaccurate and flawed? Pre-election polling data has a way of creating some momentum in a political campaign. Some voters will choose a candidate who seems to be winning. The phenomenon is akin to getting on board the right train. And that's always been an aspect of pre-election polling. But we now live in an era where the only poll that matters is the election vote tabulation. And that poll, in many quarters of our society, is not trusted. And people like Donald Trump, who will lie about anything, sometimes have no second thoughts about throwing reality out of the window, particularly when it comes to an election. So what's going to happen on the night of November 5th? Is Donald Trump going to create more divisions, shred a crucial institution in our democracy, the counting of our votes? The 2020 election was free and fair. The 2024 election will be free and fair. What's unfair is the unethical and immoral use of unscientific pre-election polling to manipulate voters and create mistrust. So take all of the pre-election storylines and data with several grains of salt. Focus on having your vote counted in the only survey that matters, the 2024 election. And knock on wood, or do whatever you do for good luck, that common sense, facts, and reality prevail on November 5th and in the days and weeks after Election Day. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.